Hey everyone, welcome back to Sound of a Swish. Remember to like and subscribe. Today, we're diving into something I think a lot of you have been thinking about. Choosing the right college.
Yeah.
And whether you're like an athlete hoping to get a scholarship or you're just trying to figure out like where you belong, we're going to try to help you figure out how to navigate that crazy process. We've got a great resource to help guide us today. It's called The Guide to Helping Student Athletes Choose a College. 75 questions. And it's from Sideline Interactive. And even though it's written for athletes, there's tons of great advice in here for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this guide takes a refreshingly holistic approach to this whole process, really emphasizes that, choosing a college isn't just about one aspect of your life. It's about finding the right fit across academics, athletics, finances, your personal well-being.
All right, so let's just jump right into it. This guide starts by talking about college recruiters and how sometimes their tactics can be a bit, well, let's just say interesting. And there's this one quote that really stood out to me. It says, if a school that is recruiting you discourages you from visiting other schools, that is a sign that they are concerned about how they will compare. Pretty eye-opening, wouldn't you say?
It is. Yeah, it's a classic tactic that I think some recruiters use to try to limit your options. They might try to, paint a picture where their school is the only viable choice, but, that's rarely the case. You always want to be looking at the bigger picture and exploring all your options.
Exactly. So basically, don't let anyone pressure you into making a decision. You've got to do your research, visit different campuses, and really talk to a lot of different people.
Precisely. Gather perspectives from coaches, current students, professors, even your family, your high school coaches. Each viewpoint adds another piece to the puzzle, and it helps you create a more complete image of what life at that college would actually be like.
Yeah, I love that. It's about gathering those diverse perspectives.
Yeah.
And not relying on just one source. And then I love how the guide dives into academics because, getting into college is one thing.
Yeah.
But succeeding once you're there is a whole other story.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This guide really goes beyond just like the superficial factors, like the school's overall reputation, and it really digs into the details that really matter.
Like, for example, it asks about the graduation rate of athletes, specifically in your sport at that particular school. I mean, that's not something that I would thought to ask.
Yeah.
But it seems pretty important. Why is that statistic so crucial?
Well, it can reveal a lot about the school's commitment to supporting its athletes academically. A low graduation rate for your specific sport could be a red flag. It might indicate that the demands of, training and competition are overshadowing academic progress.
Wow, that's a really good point. It's like getting a behind-the-scenes look at how the school actually supports its athletes.
Right. And then there's another question that I think is incredibly insightful. What is the coach's policy on class attendance? Because, sure, everyone says that academics are important, but how does that translate into the daily reality of being a student athlete?
Yeah, that is a question that cuts to the chase. A coach's attitude toward class attendance really does speak volumes about their priorities and how they view that balance between athletics and academics.
Exactly. It gives you a glimpse into the culture of the program and how much they actually value academic success.
Absolutely. And here's another really practical question that stood out to me. Is a fifth year available with a scholarship if needed to complete my degree?
Oh, that's a crucial question to ask. Because let's be realistic, sometimes a four-year plan doesn't always pan out, especially for student athletes with very demanding schedules. So it's all about planning for the unexpected.
Right, life happens. I think it's really smart to be prepared for those situations. So you've talked about recruiters, we've talked about academics. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the sport itself. If you're an athlete, you're going to be spending a lot of time with those coaches and the team. So finding the right fit is just essential.
Absolutely. The guide addresses this with some very insightful questions, starting with, is the head coach secure in his jet or job? Now you might be thinking, why does that even matter?
Yeah. Kind of curious about that, too. It's not something that would immediately come to mind, but I'm sure there's reason it's in there.
Well, coaching stability can have a really significant impact on your experience as an athlete. A coach who's constantly on the hot seat might be more focused on short-term wins than on your long-term development as an athlete. It can also lead to a lot of disruption and uncertainty within the program.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. If the coach is worried about their own job security, They might not be able to fully invest in their players' development.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's the question of coaching style. This guide emphasizes the importance of finding a coaching style that aligns with your personality and aspirations. There's even a specific question in there about whether their style of play fits your skills and talents.
Right, because you want to be in an environment where you can thrive and where your strengths are valued. If there's a mismatch in coaching style, it can lead to frustration and hinder your growth as an athlete.
I completely agree. And it's not just about your athletic development. It's about your overall well-being. If you don't feel comfortable with the coaching style, it can impact your enjoyment of the sport and your overall college experience.
That's a great point. It's really about the whole picture.
It is. And speaking of red flags, the guide also cautions against coaches who make promises about playing time.
Oh, yeah. I bet a lot of athletes get caught up in that.
It's understandable. The desire for playing time is totally natural. But a promise from a coach is never a guarantee. You know what's more important is finding a program where you can develop your skills, contribute to the team, and earn your playing time through hard work and dedication.
So it's about the journey, not just the destination. I like that. Now, I know we've been talking a lot about the athletic side of things.
Yeah.
But this guide doesn't just focus on sports. It also encourages you to really zoom out and consider the bigger picture, the whole college experience beyond just athletics.
Right. It really acknowledges that college is a multifaceted experience. You know, your happiness and success hinge on more than just academics or athletics. It's about finding a place where you feel comfortable, supported, and inspired.
Exactly. And the guide addresses this with some really thoughtful questions about location campus life, the social environment. Like, for instance, it asks how far the school is from home, which I know is a really big deal for a lot of people.
It is for many reasons. You know it can impact your emotional well-being, your ability to stay connected with family and friends, even your financial situation in terms of like travel costs. So it's a very personal decision. There's no right or wrong answer, but it's important to weigh the pros and cons carefully.
Right. You've got to find that balance between independence
Yeah.
and staying connected to your support system. And then there's all those everyday things that can make a big difference in your quality of life. The guide asks about the dining facilities, the social climate on campus, even whether the current athletes in your sport seem like people you'd want to hang out with.
Yeah, these might seem like minor details, but they can have a huge impact on your overall experience. You know, imagine being stuck with a meal plan you hate, or feeling like you don't fit in with the team culture. Those things can really wear you down over time.
No kidding. It's easy to overlook those everyday aspects when you're caught up in the excitement of visiting a college. But they really do matter in the long run. It's about finding a place where you feel at home, where you can be yourself and thrive both on and off the field.
Exactly. Finding the right vibe.
Yes. And speaking of practical matters, let's talk about the elephant in the room, money.
Okay, let's do it.
This guide has a whole section on athletic scholarships, which I know is a major factor for a lot of student athletes.
Of course. And this section is packed with valuable information, even for students who aren't athletes. Many of the questions and principles apply to financial aid in general.
That's a good point. So what are some of the key takeaways from this section?
Well, it really emphasizes the importance of being prepared for scholarship discussions during college visits. You should know whether the offer would be a full ride or partial, what expenses it covers beyond tuition, and how much your family would need to contribute. It also encourages you to understand the National Letter of Intent, which is basically a binding agreement between you and the school.
Okay. And what exactly does it mean for the letter to be binding?
Well, it means that once you sign it, you're committed to attending that school and playing for their athletic program. You can't back out without facing some serious penalties, which could include losing a year of eligibility. So it's really important to read it carefully, understand the terms, and make sure you're totally comfortable with the commitment before signing.
Wow. That's serious business.
It is. College athletics is a big commitment, and these agreements are legally binding. But even if you're not dealing with athletic scholarships, the principles of financial literacy still apply. Understanding financial aid packages, knowing how to negotiate, asking the right questions, those are valuable skills for any student who's heading to college.
Absolutely. It's about advocating for yourself.
Yeah.
And making informed decisions about your future.
Right. It's about, taking ownership of the process and making a decision that's really aligned with your values and aspirations.
I love that. It's not about finding the perfect college.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, there's no such thing. It's about finding the best match for you, for your unique needs and your goals.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. This guide really is packed with so much valuable information. It's like a cheat sheet for navigating the college selection process.
It is. It's a really comprehensive resource that encourages you to think critically, be proactive, and really advocate for yourself. It reminds you that choosing a college isn't just about following some kind of checklist. It's about finding the right fit for you as a whole person.
Right. So if you had to sum it all up,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say is the biggest takeaway from this whole deep dive?
I'd say the key takeaway is that choosing a college is a huge decision with a lot of moving parts. It's not just about academics, athletics, or even finances. It's about finding a place where you can really thrive academically, athletically, socially, and personally.
It's about the whole package.
Exactly. And this guide gives you a roadmap for asking the right questions, gathering diverse perspectives, and ultimately making a choice that aligns with your values and aspirations.
I love that. So we've reached the end of another deep dive, but I want to leave you with one final thought. Of all the questions we've discussed today, one question from this guide really stands out to you the most, and why? Think about it. Maybe even jot it down, because it could be the key to unlocking your own college decision-making process. And remember to like and subscribe. We'll catch you on the next episode of Sound of a Swish. All right, so we've reached the end of another deep dive, but I want to leave you with one final thought. Of all the questions we've discussed today, what one question from this guide stood out to you the most, and why? Think about it. Maybe even jot it down. It could be the key to unlocking your own college decision-making process. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Sound of a Swish.